In a galaxy dominated by powerful empires and advanced technology, one species stands above all others until a race of seemingly insignificant humans with a passion for pizza and entertainment shatters their superiority. When the mighty Crick Empire, led by the formidable Commander Zexer, underestimates Earth's greatest asset, creativity, they find themselves outwitted in ways they never imagined. Now, with their weapons turned into light shows and their warships broadcasting pizza ads, Zexer must decide: continue the fight against a species that has turned fun into a weapon, or join forces with the humans to reclaim their lost glory. This is a tale of unexpected alliances, where the fate of the galaxy may just rest in the hands of pizza and pop culture. Galactic Council, a prestigious assembly where representatives from thousands of worlds converge to discuss matters of universal importance. The chamber itself is a technological marvel, designed to accommodate the diverse and varied species that participate in these interstellar deliberations. The representatives travel in floating pods, each a sleek, floating vessel that reflects the unique technological advancements and cultural aesthetics of the species it carries. These pods float effortlessly through the air, creating a mesmerizing display of color, design, and alien life forms. The air is alive with the hum of advanced technology, as beams of light reflect off the shimmering exoskeletons of certain representatives and the holographic displays that flicker in the background. In this dynamic setting, the one species that commands the most attention is the CCS, led by High Commander Zexer. Zexer's appearance is striking and unnerving. He floats in the central pod, his body encased in a magnificent crystalline exoskeleton that glows with an almost ethereal light. His presence exudes power, authority, and a long history of dominance in the galaxy. Zexer's form, both alien and intricate, is a visual representation of the CCS's technological prowess and the military might that has allowed them to hold a feared position in galactic politics for eons. As he hovers in the center of the chamber, his form is a symbol of the CCS's superiority, both culturally and militarily. Zexer is clearly comfortable in the spotlight, relishing the attention his species commands. His position in the Council not only reflects his species' power, but also their influence over the decision-making processes of the galaxy's most prominent civilizations. As he begins to address the assembly, his tone is measured, yet laced with barely concealed disdain for those who he believes are not worthy of the Council's gravitas. His voice, amplified by the advanced communication systems of the chamber, carries an air of condescension as he brings up what he refers to as the human problem. This sets the tone for the Council's deliberations. Humans, despite their ambition to join the Council and contribute to its leadership, are viewed as nothing more than a source of amusement, a species too unrefined and unadvanced to truly offer anything of value. This opening sequence serves not only to introduce the Council's setting, but also to establish the overarching theme of the story: the tension between established galactic powers and the underestimated human species. The scene is rich with symbolism, with the chamber itself representing the heart of galactic politics and power. The dazzling display of diversity in the room highlights the vastness of the galaxy, but it is Zexer, with his shimmering exoskeleton and commanding presence, who dominates the narrative in this moment. His role as the leader of the CCS is pivotal, and it is his disdain for humanity that sets the stage for the conflict that will soon unfold. In stark contrast to the arrogant tone of High Commander Zexer, Ambassador Chun, the sole representative of Earth, maintains a calm and composed demeanor despite the dismissive remarks directed at humanity. The human ambassador is not a towering figure in the Council chamber, but rather someone who must navigate the tension with subtlety and skill. Chin's appearance and demeanor are a testament to the resilience and diplomacy of humanity. His smile, pleasant and unwavering, betrays no hint of nervousness, even as the CCS mocks humanity's achievements. This moment serves as a quiet yet powerful contrast between the two species. Zexer, a being whose power is almost entirely based on physical and technological superiority, and Chun, whose strength lies in the intellect, adaptability, and diplomatic tact of his people. Chen understands the delicate balance he must maintain in this situation, knowing that to engage with Zexer's taunting head-on would be a grave mistake. Instead, he responds with a level of poise that exemplifies the strength of humanity's adaptability in a galaxy that has long seen humans as inferior. His words are carefully chosen, conveying a sense of respect for the Council while subtly challenging their dismissal of humanity's potential. Chen acknowledges the absurdity of Zexer's dismissal. The human achievement he references, the pizza delivery guarantee, is trivial when compared to the depth of humanity's capabilities. But rather than retracting, Chen turns this perceived weakness into a statement of strength. The subtle humor in his response indicates a quiet confidence that humanity, despite being underestimated, is capable of finding creative solutions to complex problems. When Chen speaks of humanity's talent for adapting and finding innovative solutions, he not only defends the value of human potential, but subtly reminds the Council that even the most advanced species, like the Krix, were once emerging species themselves. The mention of the Krix origins is a daring move. It is an unspoken acknowledgement of the Council's own humble beginnings, and a reminder that no species, no matter how dominant, was always in power. This remark creates a palpable tension in the chamber. It's a silent jab that no one dares to vocalize, pointing out that even the most formidable species, like the Krix, had once struggled and grown from their early stages. The delicate nature of this moment is amplified by the response of the other Council members. Despite their varied origins and histories, they all recognize the daring nature of Chen's words, and the silence that falls over the chamber reflects the gravity of his statement. The risk he has taken with this observation is subtle but significant. He's not directly challenging the Krix, but instead questioning their assumption that they are infallible. For a brief moment, the collective thoughts of the Council shift, acknowledging that humans might have something of value to offer after all, not in the form of advanced technology or grandiose achievements, but in the form of creative thinking, problem-solving, and adaptability. This exchange not only demonstrates Chen's diplomatic skill, but also sets the stage for the unexpected conflict to come. While the Krix may view humanity as little more than an amusing curiosity, Chen's ability to maintain his composure, remain respectful, and yet subtly challenge their assumptions reflects the strength of human resolve. Chen represents not just the human race, but a species that has long endured underestimations, and his words suggest that perhaps, in the end, it is this very quality, the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to surprise, that will make humans a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. This moment marks the beginning of humanity's shift from an underdog to a species capable of turning the tables in unexpected ways. Following Ambassador Chen's daring remarks, the Krix High Commander, Zexer, reacts with barely concealed outrage. Zexer, with his vast technological superiority and fearsome reputation, had expected a meek response from the human ambassador, but instead, he was met with subtle defiance. The Krix, who are known for their technological prowess, such as their ability to weaponize black holes, pride themselves on their advanced capabilities. To them, humanity's greatest achievement, as Zexer sarcastically points out, is a trivial matter: the pizza delivery guarantee. The absurdity of the comparison, intended as a way to mock human achievements, underscores Zexer's arrogance and the Krix' belief in their unchallenged dominance over the galaxy. Zexer's response to Chen's words reveals not only his contempt for humanity's perceived triviality, but also his deep-seated insecurity. Despite their immense technological and military strength, the Krix are clearly rattled by the notion that a species as seemingly primitive as humans might hold some form of value. The Krix are an ancient and powerful race, and for them, the idea that humans could be anything but a fleeting, inferior species seems laughable. However, Zexer's reaction to Chen's subtle jabs indicates that beneath his confident exterior, the High Commander is beginning to doubt his own assumptions. It is clear that the Krix have not fully grasped the true nature of humanity's potential, something that will soon become apparent in ways they never anticipated. The tension in the chamber escalates as Zexer's form pulses with a kaleidoscope of colors, the Krix equivalent of anger and intimidation. It's a physical display meant to intimidate, but it also signals his confusion. For the first time, Zexer is forced to acknowledge that humanity may not be as easily dismissed as he had assumed. His response to Chin's remarks, "Is that a threat?" highlights his disbelief that humans, a species he considers to be at the bottom of the galactic hierarchy, might have the audacity to challenge a power like the Krix. It's a defensive response, revealing that Zexer is, in fact, rattled by Chin's calm confidence. Despite the tension and Zexer's attempts to assert dominance, Chin's composure is unwavering. Rather than succumbing to the intimidation tactics of the Krix, the human ambassador remains unflustered and responds with a level-headed observation about the power of imagination and innovation. Chin's reminder that even the Krix must remember what it was like to be an emerging species is both a jab and a calculated piece of diplomacy. The Krix, who are known for their immense technological power, are reminded that their own species was once at a disadvantage, struggling to establish themselves in the galactic order. The mention of the Krix' humble beginnings serves as a subtle but powerful rebuke, shifting the dynamic of the discussion. The silence that follows Chin's words is telling. It's not a silence born of intimidation or fear, but one of stunned realization. For the first time in the discussion, the council members and even the Krix themselves pause, momentarily unsure of how to proceed. Chin has successfully planted the seed of doubt, and though no one dares voice it aloud, the idea that the Krix are not invincible begins to take hold. In this moment, the dynamics of power in the galaxy begin to shift ever so slightly. The Krix, despite their arrogance, have been forced to reckon with the idea that humanity's true strength lies not in technological superiority, but in their resilience, adaptability, and innovative thinking. Zexer's form continues to flicker with agitation, signaling that the Krix are not used to being challenged, especially by a species they've long underestimated. Chin's quiet challenge serves as a catalyst for the events that follow, setting the stage for a dramatic turn in the narrative. The Krix, who once looked down upon humans as insignificant, are beginning to realize that their assumptions may be flawed. The stage is now set for a battle of wits and strategy, one in which humanity may not only hold their own, but potentially outmaneuver the Krix in ways that no one, especially Zexer, could have predicted. After the tense exchange with Ambassador Chun, Commander Zexer's irritation grows exponentially. Despite his outward confidence, the Krix High Commander is struggling to come to terms with the implications of humanity's potential. As the once dismissed humans begin to demonstrate their resourcefulness and unorthodox strategies, Zexer's frustration becomes more evident. The Krix, with their immense technological advantages, have always prided themselves on their ability to crush their enemies with overwhelming force. They had never expected a species as seemingly insignificant as humans to present any real challenge, let alone to outmaneuver them with nothing more than cleverness, creativity, and perhaps a touch of audacity. This realization begins to gnaw at Zexer's sense of superiority. His belief in the infallibility of Krix technology and the overwhelming might of his species starts to unravel, piece by piece. As Zexer receives reports of missing personnel and disappearing outposts, he initially assumes these disruptions are the result of some covert attack by an unknown enemy. However, the reports quickly reveal a far more baffling and seemingly innocuous cause. The humans are not engaging in direct combat, nor are they hacking into Krix systems with advanced weaponry. Instead, they're simply unplugging things. Power sources, communication arrays, and other essential systems are being shut down, seemingly without any real effort or complex methods. This anomaly baffles Zexer and his officers because it doesn't fit into the Krix understanding of warfare. There is no grand battle, no laser fire, no black hole weapons. Just the unsettlingly simple act of unplugging devices and systems. The term unplugging becomes symbolic of the human's ingenuity. What appears to be a minor nuisance to the Krix turns out to be a highly effective form of sabotage. The fact that the Krix' own security systems fail to recognize this as an attack speaks volumes about the disconnect between the Krix expectations and the humans' approach to conflict. Zexer, who had previously dismissed humanity as a trivial species, begins to see that this strategy, while seemingly harmless, is deeply effective in its simplicity. It is a striking contrast to the complex and violent methods the Krix use to maintain control. Adding to Zexer's frustration is the peculiar behavior of his own troops. As the humans systematically disable Krix systems, Zexer's forces, once hardened warriors feared throughout the galaxy, are surrendering. Not because they are overwhelmed by superior force, but because they are being offered something completely unexpected: pizza. Along with the food, the humans are offering access to something called Netflix, a concept entirely alien to the Krix. The idea that a species so advanced in warfare and technology could be brought to its knees by something as simple and unassuming as food delivery and entertainment options is completely beyond Zexer's comprehension. The juxtaposition of the Krix' advanced technology with humanity's seemingly inconsequential yet surprisingly effective methods further fuels Zexer's bewilderment. He cannot fathom how something as simple as a food delivery system or a streaming service could be the key to undermining the might of the Krix Empire. To Zexer, it's a slap in the face to everything the Krix have worked for. It's not just the act of surrendering in exchange for pizza and Netflix that disturbs him, but the very idea that humans have found a way to defeat the Krix without ever needing to fire a shot. This challenges the entire foundation of the Krix' understanding of power and dominance. As the situation spirals further out of control, Zexer's crystalline form flickers with an array of colors, signaling his rising anger and confusion. The more he tries to grasp the situation, the more elusive it becomes. How could these so-called pizza-obsessed primates be outsmarting the most powerful empire in the galaxy? The absurdity of it all begins to erode Zexer's sense of control, and he is forced to confront a disturbing truth. Humanity's strength does not lie in superior weaponry or technology, but in something far more unpredictable: their creativity, adaptability, and an ability to use even the simplest tools to devastating effect. This marks a pivotal moment in the story. Zexer, once sure of the Krix' invincibility, begins to realize that humanity might be far more dangerous than he had ever anticipated. The Krix, who once viewed themselves as the apex predators of the galaxy, now find themselves outwitted and outmaneuvered by a species they had long dismissed as primitive. Zexer's growing frustration is not only a reflection of his personal failure, but also a sign that the Krix are beginning to question their own invulnerability. As the human strategy unfolds with even more bizarre and unanticipated results, Zexer can no longer deny that humanity has something powerful: the ability to think outside the box and challenge the status quo in ways no one, including the Krix, had ever imagined. The heart of Zexer's disbelief is the rapid and disorienting realization that the advanced Krix technology, which has always been the source of their dominance in the galaxy, is completely ineffective against the unanticipated methods humanity is using to subvert their systems. The Krix, as the self-proclaimed masters of the galaxy, have long relied on their unparalleled technological advancements, such as weaponized black holes and planet-destroying capabilities, to maintain control and instill fear. To them, technology is synonymous with power. Their entire civilization is built around the idea that their ability to harness and manipulate the most destructive forces in the universe makes them invincible. They never expected that a much younger and seemingly less sophisticated species like humanity would come along and prove them wrong. The tipping point comes when the Krix receive reports of their own warships being rendered useless, not by enemy fire, but by strange disruptions caused by the humans. In a surreal twist of fate, the mighty weaponry that was designed to annihilate entire planets has been reprogrammed into something completely benign and baffling to the Krix. Instead of shooting destructive lasers or black holes, the weapons now emit sparkling light shows and play disco music. The Krix Command Center falls into a state of utter confusion and disbelief. The black hole weapons, once capable of obliterating entire fleets, are now reduced to harmless, colorful displays, completely powerless to inflict any real harm. The technology that once commanded fear across the galaxy is now rendered impotent by the humans' ingenuity, and there is nothing the Krix can do to stop it. Zexer's reaction to this development is one of total astonishment. He had always believed that Krix technology was flawless and invulnerable, a product of centuries of research and refinement. But now, humanity, a species with no comparable technological foundation, has taken their weapons and, with a combination of creative thinking and perhaps a touch of humor, turned them into something absurd and utterly harmless. Zexer's frustration deepens as he watches reports of Crick's ships, which were once the scourge of the galaxy, now hosting laser light shows and galactic-wide celebrations rather than engaging in warfare. The very idea of the Crick's devastating technology being turned into entertainment for the masses is unfathomable. This new use of their advanced weaponry makes a mockery of everything the Cricks have worked to achieve. The crux of the problem is that the Cricks, for all their technological might, have never accounted for the possibility that a species might be able to defeat them not through brute force, but through ingenuity and creativity. The humans have proven that the true strength of a species lies not just in raw technological power, but in the ability to think beyond conventional warfare. The Cricks had assumed that their superior technology would always guarantee their victory, but now they are confronted with a species that has no need for traditional weapons. Instead, humanity is outsmarting them with strategies that, on the surface, seem almost laughable. This realization begins to eat away at the core of the Cricks' identity. For centuries, they have relied on their advanced technology to maintain control and instill fear in others. The idea that something as trivial as a harmless entertainment display or a well-timed act of sabotage could bring their empire to its knees is not only humiliating, but also threatening to their very concept of power. Zexer's response to this shift is a mixture of confusion, anger, and fear. He begins to understand that no matter how advanced the Crick technology may be, there is always room for innovation and creative solutions from the most unexpected sources. Humanity's ability to adapt, reprogram, and reimagine the very technology the Cricks rely on becomes the ultimate weapon in their arsenal, one that is impossible to counter with the brute force that the Cricks are accustomed to wielding. The complete dismantling of Crick technology by the humans also serves as a wake-up call for Zexer and his people. It highlights a crucial weakness in their understanding of power. The Cricks have placed all their faith in their destructive capabilities, never considering that a species might be able to defeat them by outthinking them, rather than overpowering them. The human success is not just a result of their creativity, but also of their ability to use what they have in unexpected ways. Zexer's growing realization that humanity's true strength lies in their ability to innovate and adapt begins to shift the balance of power, even as he grapples with the humiliation of watching his once mighty warships become nothing more than vehicles for light shows and pointless distractions. This revelation forces the Cricks to reconsider their approach to dominance and warfare. No longer can they rely solely on their technological superiority. They must now contend with the fact that the humans have found a way to neutralize their most powerful weapons using methods that would have been dismissed as trivial or foolish in the past. It is a profound moment of reckoning, one that will alter the way the Cricks, and Zexer in particular, view the human race. It is no longer a question of whether the Cricks will defeat humanity. It is now a question of how they will deal with the unexpected consequences of underestimating such a seemingly insignificant species. The most unexpected development in this conflict is not humanity's technological prowess, but their ability to use humor and diplomacy to disarm the Cricks. As the story unfolds, humanity's diplomats and strategists employ unconventional tactics, something as simple as humor, charm, and clever negotiation techniques, to disrupt and ultimately undermine the Crick Empire's influence and control. In a galaxy where power has long been defined by advanced weaponry and technological superiority, the humans' reliance on lighthearted, almost absurd methods of conflict resolution is a game-changer. In the face of the Crick's aggression and overwhelming force, humanity does not respond with violence or military escalation. Instead, they use humor to expose the absurdity of the situation, disarm the Cricks psychologically, and render their once-feared war machines powerless. This strategy becomes evident in the absurdity of the Crick ships' new programming, such as their weapon systems turning into disco light shows and laser sparkles, and even their military tactics being replaced by aggressive hospitality through what seems like harmless entertainment. By responding to the Krik's initial mockery with an even more playful form of defiance, humanity catches them off guard. Humor becomes a tool not just for breaking the tension, but for shifting the power dynamic entirely. Admiral Roos, one of the key human diplomats, exemplifies this approach. He effortlessly uses humor as a weapon of diplomacy, disarming Zexer with his cheeky tone and laid-back attitude. Roos, far from being intimidated by the Krik's reputation, instead responds with a level of casualness that completely baffles Zexer. By calling himself the Galactic Party Planner and discussing human culture in terms of entertainment and leisure, like Netflix and pizza, Roos takes away the Krik's sense of dominance, turning the tables on them with a sheer, almost absurd confidence. This deflection of the Krik's expectations, using charm and humor rather than fear, highlights the human approach to diplomacy. They refuse to be cowed by aggression or technology and instead leverage their cultural values to confront their enemies. The unexpected success of these tactics demonstrates the power of nonviolent resistance and the importance of psychological warfare. Where the Kriks believe their overwhelming technological might would ensure their victory, they are instead faced with a species that refuses to be intimidated or manipulated. Humans use humor as a means of addressing the psychological gap between themselves and their adversaries, showing that they can not only outsmart the Kriks in technological terms, but also outmaneuver them in terms of interpersonal dynamics. The Kriks, steeped in their own sense of superiority, are unprepared for this form of engagement, which shakes their entire worldview. Humor also plays a role in disarming the Krik's emotional response. Zexer and the Krik commanders, who pride themselves on their fearsome reputation, find themselves in a situation where they cannot take control of the conversation. The Kriks, accustomed to instilling fear with their sheer presence and destructive technology, are unaccustomed to being challenged by humor, something they cannot easily counter. This is made even clearer when Roos presents the Kriks with two choices. One, to continue fighting, with the threat of timeshare presentations, a form of passive-aggressive humor that instantly shifts the mood from one of aggression to one of absurdity. And two, to enter into a partnership that plays on both sides' strengths. The use of humor here is not just a defensive measure. It is a strategic form of offense that undermines the Krik's authority and forces them into a corner. Furthermore, the Krik's own emotional response to the humor illustrates a deeper, psychological failure on their part. The Kriks, long revered for their discipline and militaristic culture, are suddenly faced with a form of warfare they cannot comprehend or counter. The weight of their reputation as the galaxy's greatest predators falters when confronted with a species that operates with an unexpected blend of joviality and sharp negotiation skills. It's a form of diplomacy that puts the Kriks on the defensive, and they cannot respond effectively. Zexer's realization of humanity's true strength is a turning point in the story. He sees that the Kriks may be technologically superior, but they have overlooked an essential aspect of warfare: empathy, humor, and the ability to laugh at oneself. This diplomatic shift emphasizes how humanity's softer, more relatable approach can sometimes be more powerful than the sheer brute force that has historically defined galactic conflicts. The very idea that a species could beat the Kriks at their own game, not with weapons or military tactics, but through clever and humorous diplomacy, is a revolutionary concept for the galaxy. It showcases the adaptability and creativity of humanity, which values cooperation over conquest and wit over war. Through these unexpected tactics, humanity shifts the balance of power without ever firing a shot, proving that the greatest weapon of all may not always be physical force, but the ability to connect, adapt, and even make your enemies laugh at their own expense. In the end, the human tactic of using humor as diplomacy not only breaks the Krik's technological monopoly, but also redefines the very nature of galactic conflict. What once seemed like a serious struggle for dominance becomes a lesson in the power of levity, creativity, and the simple but profound idea that even the most fearsome enemies can be defeated without ever engaging in traditional combat. It is a new kind of power dynamic, one that the Kriks are ill-prepared for, and it signals humanity's ascension from an underdog species to a force that cannot be underestimated. One of the most pivotal aspects of the story is the Kriks' overwhelming arrogance, which blinds them to humanity's true potential. The Krikks, as the self-proclaimed masters of the galaxy, believe their technological superiority and military prowess make them invincible. Their overconfidence in their position leads them to underestimate humanity, whose methods and culture are perceived as primitive and inconsequential by the Krikks. This gross misjudgment sets the stage for the humans to exploit a vulnerability the Krikks never expected: their complete inability to understand the true strength of human creativity and adaptability. The Krikks are the dominant species, known for their advanced weaponry and devastating technologies, including their ability to weaponize black holes. They view themselves as an apex civilization, a status that grants them both pride and complacency. Their reputation as the feared overlords of the galaxy precedes them, and they've grown accustomed to seeing all other species, especially humans, as beneath them. In their eyes, humanity's greatest achievement, which they dismiss as insignificant, is the pizza delivery guarantee, something that, while humorous, serves as a perfect example of how the Krikks see human innovation as trivial and unserious. They laugh at the idea, finding it far beneath their intellectual and military capabilities. This overconfidence, however, becomes the Krikks' Achilles heel. When Commander Zexer and his forces face off against humanity, they fail to consider how humans might respond to their dominance. The Krikks believe that their weapons, such as black hole generators, will easily subdue the primitive humans, but they overlook the fact that humans are not only resourceful, but possess a unique ability to think outside the box. They are capable of surprising ingenuity, which is not always recognized as a threat by more technologically advanced species. What the Krikks fail to grasp is that human adaptability is not solely based on strength or firepower, but on their capacity to innovate in unexpected ways. The humor and playful tactics humans use in response to the Krikks' aggression exemplify this innovation. Humanity's success in overcoming the Krikks is not a result of technological superiority, but rather an underestimation of human resolve and cleverness. The Krikks think that they can easily defeat the humans using brute force and fear, but when humanity begins to outwit them with simple actions, like unplugging systems and replacing their weapon systems with harmless distractions, they find themselves helpless in the face of this unexpected kind of warfare. The humans' victory comes from their ability to adapt quickly and exploit the Krikks' hubris. The Krikks, expecting their technological might to intimidate or overpower humanity, are completely unprepared for the humans' clever use of humor, misdirection, and psychological tactics. As the Krikks' flagship, the Crystal Dawn, experiences its systems being turned into a playground of nonsensical data, advertisements, and cheerful distractions, Zexer and his crew are forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that they have underestimated humanity. This is a direct result of their overconfidence and refusal to acknowledge that a species so seemingly trivial could challenge them. The humans' use of entertainment, such as altering the Krikks' weapon systems into harmless laser light shows, is both a brilliant and humiliating strategy. By replacing weapons with harmless, childlike amusements, the humans expose the flaw in the Krikks' reliance on pure military might. Zexer's disbelief as he watches his crew become ensnared in fun-filled distractions shows the depth of their miscalculation. Zexer's reaction to this situation is crucial, as it underscores the Krikks' inability to process this new kind of warfare. Their technological prowess, once seen as invincible, is suddenly rendered useless by something as seemingly trivial as entertainment. The Krikks' failure to recognize the strategic power of creativity and human ingenuity ultimately leads to their downfall. They never imagined that humans, whom they viewed as nothing more than a footnote in galactic history, could be a formidable force. Zexer's mounting frustration and disbelief as the humans infiltrate their systems and disrupt their military order highlight the consequences of underestimating a species with an unconventional approach to conflict. The Krikks' overconfidence also blinds them to the human ability to adapt and use their resources in creative ways. Humanity's most potent weapons aren't physical but psychological. Through the use of humor, adaptability, and unconventional strategies, they show that there are many ways to win a conflict beyond sheer firepower. This realization is perhaps the most painful for Zexer, that the Krix, in their arrogance, have overlooked a simple but powerful truth, that intelligence and creativity can sometimes outmaneuver even the most advanced technologies. In the end, this overconfidence is what leads the Krix to underestimate the humans, setting them up for a surprising defeat. The Krix' reliance on their military might and technological dominance blinds them to the true threat: humanity's creativity and resilience. The story highlights the dangers of overestimating one's own superiority and failing to acknowledge the potential of others. The Krix' downfall is a direct consequence of their failure to recognize that, in the vast expanse of the galaxy, even the most unlikely species can become powerful forces if they use their strengths wisely. Through this, humanity proves that true power lies not in overwhelming force, but in the ability to adapt, innovate, and outthink one's enemies. In the conflict between the humans and the Krix, humanity's approach to resistance and diplomacy is characterized by an unexpected yet highly effective combination of subversion and humor. While the Krix rely on brute force, technological superiority, and military intimidation to maintain their dominance, the humans deploy an entirely different strategy, one that catches the Krix off guard and ultimately undermines their might. This approach is not only about defeating the Krix technology, but also about challenging their perception of what warfare and diplomacy can look like. The first major clue to this approach comes during Ambassador Chen's initial confrontation with High Commander Zexer at the Galactic Council. Zexer mocks humanity's supposed greatest achievement, its pizza delivery guarantee. This dismissive attitude towards humanity's cultural achievements sets the stage for the Krix's ongoing underestimation of human capability. However, Ambassador Chen, rather than reacting with aggression or humiliation, responds with poise and subtle defiance. He does not retaliate with a military countermeasure, but instead offers an intellectual challenge, suggesting that humans possess a unique ability to adapt and find creative solutions to problems, such as the ones that the Council faces. His approach is one of diplomacy, maintaining composure, but also using wit and intelligence to present humanity's potential in a way that the Krix fail to grasp at first. This use of humor as a tool of diplomacy continues as the humans' actions unfold. While the Krix are expecting a direct military confrontation, the humans cleverly avoid traditional warfare. They begin their subversion by exploiting the very systems the Krix depend on: communications, power grids, and even weaponry, by unplugging or reprogramming them. The Krix systems are ill-prepared for such an attack because they don't register it as a form of aggression. For the Krix, the act of simply unplugging or reprogramming their highly sophisticated technologies is too ridiculous to be seen as a legitimate threat. They believe it is a prank or an annoyance, dismissing the humans' actions as childish. Yet this subversion leads to complete chaos within the Krix fleet, as their weapons are transformed into harmless, even entertaining systems. Laser light shows, heart-shaped energy pulses, and cat videos replacing combat simulations. The most striking aspect of this tactic is the use of humor as both a weapon and a psychological strategy. While the Krix are used to combat situations where the primary focus is military superiority, they are utterly unprepared for a strategy that involves turning their own strengths into weaknesses. The human ability to disrupt the Krix technology by replacing it with playful and frivolous distractions is not only a show of technical ingenuity, but also an attack on the Krix pride and worldview. This method of using humor forces the Krix into a position where their greatest technological advantages are turned into sources of embarrassment and helplessness. The Krix military machines are no longer instruments of terror. Instead, they become laughable props in a cosmic joke that the humans are orchestrating. The sheer absurdity of the situation undermines the Krix sense of control, leaving them bewildered and powerless. The humans' use of humor also manifests through their diplomatic maneuvering. The human Admiral Ruse, who represents Earth's strategic command, embraces the tone of lightheartedness even as he holds all the cards. His cheery demeanor during the negotiations is a stark contrast to the tension in the room and the Krix's hostile nature. Ruse's confident, almost playful attitude as he offers Zexer two options: continue fighting or partner with humanity, illustrates the power of psychological warfare. By making the Krix feel like they are engaged in a light-hearted exchange rather than a life-or-death struggle, Ruse effectively disarms them. The threat of humanity's ultimate weapon, which turns out to be the dreaded timeshare presentations, adds a layer of humor to an otherwise high-stakes negotiation. The prospect of being subjected to an excruciatingly tedious sales pitch is enough to terrify even the hardened Crick warriors. This use of humor as a psychological weapon underlines the core of the human strategy, subverting the Crick's expectations and turning their strengths into vulnerabilities. Furthermore, the use of humor and lightheartedness continues to affect the Crick crew, who find themselves distracted by the harmless yet pervasive human interventions. The Crick flagship, once the pride of the Crick Armada, becomes a scene of disarray as its crew is ensnared in the comforts and distractions introduced by the humans. The crew, instead of focusing on the looming threat of human subversion, becomes absorbed in trivial pursuits, stress relief toys, massaging chairs, and immersive VR headsets, while the ship itself is rendered vulnerable to further manipulation. This disruption of the Crick crew's focus highlights the effectiveness of humor not just as a weapon, but as a way of demoralizing the enemy. The Cricks, who had once dominated the galaxy through fear and intimidation, are now immobilized by the very distractions the humans have introduced. Ultimately, the use of humor and subversion demonstrates the depth of human resilience and ingenuity. The Cricks are paralyzed by their inability to take human strategies seriously, which results in their downfall. This approach, disrupting systems, using psychological warfare, and maintaining a sense of humor even in the face of adversity, is a reflection of humanity's greatest strengths: adaptability, creativity, and the ability to find unconventional solutions to problems. It is a reminder that humor, often overlooked in serious matters, can be a powerful tool in both diplomacy and conflict. Through this unique approach, humanity teaches the Cricks, and perhaps the entire galaxy, a valuable lesson in the power of creativity, subversion, and diplomacy through humor. As the conflict between humanity and the Cricks progresses, it becomes evident that the Cricks' technological superiority, once seen as an unassailable advantage, is no match for the ingenuity and unorthodox tactics employed by the humans. The turning point in this narrative occurs when the Cricks, despite their advanced weapons and military might, find themselves humiliated not through brute force or destruction, but through the very systems they had so pridefully relied upon. The Cricks, known for their fearsome reputation as the undisputed masters of the galaxy, are systematically defeated by a combination of human wit, humor, and subversion. Their advanced weaponry and technology, once symbols of their supremacy, are rendered completely ineffective by the humans' clever exploitation of vulnerabilities. The first sign of the Cricks' humiliation comes when their powerful systems, black hole weapons, communications arrays, and even their fleets, are gradually neutralized by a series of actions that would have seemed laughable to any other species. The Cricks' highly advanced technology is hacked and reprogrammed by the humans, not to destroy, but to turn it into a mockery of its original purpose. The weapon systems, instead of unleashing devastating destruction, now generate sparkling lights and heart-shaped pulses, creating a surreal and almost comical display. Communication channels that once transmitted commands for war are now filled with Earth's pop songs, and even the Crick warships, once symbols of terror, are transformed into floating advertisements and entertainment centers. The very technology that had once been the cornerstone of Crick dominance is subverted into a tool for humor, rendering the Cricks powerless. This humiliation is further amplified by the Crick Command Center's confusion and frustration. Zexer, the High Commander, initially struggles to comprehend how something so trivial, pizza, streaming services, and even cat videos, could reduce his empire to such absurdity. The Cricks, who had built their reputation on military prowess and technological innovation, find themselves unable to counter a force that uses distraction, humor, and creativity to dismantle their entire war machine. Zexer's growing frustration is mirrored in his command center as reports of missing personnel and silent outposts continue to flood in. The realization that their highly advanced systems are being hacked by humans who are neither using military force nor sophisticated technology, but simply unplugging or reprogramming equipment is deeply humiliating for the Krikks. The pride they had taken in their technological might becomes a source of mockery, as they are outsmarted by seemingly insignificant human tactics. The turning point in the Krikks' humiliation occurs when Zexer is confronted with the full extent of humanity's subversion. The Krikk flagship, once a symbol of invincibility, is now surrounded by human vessels, each projecting holographic advertisements for vacation packages and all-you-can-eat buffets instead of engaging in battle. Zexer, once the most feared being in the galaxy, watches in disbelief as his fleet, instead of launching missiles or activating defenses, is reduced to a bizarre circus of distractions and frivolity. The Krikk crew, instead of preparing for battle, is enthralled by VR headsets, receiving customer service offers, and engaging in discussions about which pizza toppings are superior. This entire scene of ridiculousness highlights just how far the Krikks have fallen from their position of power. The final blow to the Krikks' pride comes when they realize that their sophisticated technology has been hijacked by human engineers disguised as maintenance bots. These engineers, dressed in innocuous IT department shirts, infiltrate the Krikk flagship with ease, offering complimentary stress toys and efficiently reprogramming the ship's systems. The Krikk crew, completely oblivious to the unfolding situation, becomes absorbed in their newfound comforts, while the humans dismantle their operations with minimal resistance. The contrast between the Krikks' high-tech military infrastructure and the human engineers' mundane attire emphasizes the absurdity of the situation. The Krikks, so focused on technological superiority, are completely unprepared for the tactics that humanity deploys, tactics that prioritize adaptability, psychological manipulation, and subversion over raw firepower. Zexer's reaction to the growing crisis is one of mounting disbelief. As he watches his flagship fall into disarray, he begins to realize the true extent of his species' downfall. The Krikks had been so obsessed with their technological advantage that they failed to consider the possibility that a species could defeat them through methods that didn't rely on brute force. The humans' unorthodox approach, relying on creativity, humor, and the manipulation of technology, has left the Krikks scrambling to regain control of their empire. The very systems that were meant to assert their dominance are now the source of their defeat, and the Krikks are powerless to stop the tide of humiliation that sweeps over them. In the end, the Krikks are faced with a harsh reality. Their technologically advanced civilization has been brought to its knees not by military might, but by the human capacity for innovation, humor, and subversion. The Krikks, once masters of the galaxy, are forced to confront the fact that their superiority was not as absolute as they believed. Zexer, in particular, must grapple with the realization that his species, once seen as invincible, has been outmaneuvered by a species that values adaptability and creativity over firepower. As he contemplates the situation, he is left with little choice but to acknowledge the inevitable surrender of the Krikk forces. The power of humanity's humor, ingenuity, and subversion has ultimately triumphed, leaving the Krikks humiliated and defeated. After the Krikks' humiliating defeat at the hands of humanity, Commander Zexer finds himself in an agonizing position. His species, once the most powerful and technologically advanced in the galaxy, has been reduced to a laughingstock by a race they had underestimated. The Krikks, who had always prided themselves on their dominance, are now faced with the reality that their pride and technological superiority were not enough to sustain them against the ingenuity and unpredictable tactics of the humans. This moment of reckoning forces Zexer into a difficult decision: to continue fighting a battle that has already been lost, or to seek an alliance with the humans, whose methods of warfare seem so foreign and absurd that they now hold the upper hand. Zexer is initially resistant to the idea of partnering with humans. The very thought of it fills him with a sense of defeat and humiliation. After all, the Krikks have always been the dominant force in the galaxy, and now they are being forced to consider an alliance with a species they once saw as primitive and insignificant. The humans, with their focus on entertainment, pizza, and streaming services, had turned his sophisticated weapons and military strategies into a joke. Yet, Despite his pride and resentment, Zexer cannot ignore the practicality of the situation. He is no longer in a position to dictate terms. The Krix have been thoroughly outsmarted, and their military assets are now mostly useless. The time for pride is over, and Zexer must face the reality that his species needs help if they are to regain any semblance of power or respect. As Zexer contemplates the consequences of continuing the fight, he realizes that humanity offers something the Krix could never have anticipated: a new kind of power. It is not brute strength or technological superiority, but rather adaptability, creativity, and the ability to see potential in situations others might dismiss. The Krix have been so focused on their weapons and technology that they failed to recognize the potential for innovation in other areas, like the simple power of a well-timed joke, a clever strategy, or the subversion of expectations. These are the qualities that the humans brought to the table, and they had proven more than capable of defeating even the most powerful empire in the galaxy. The Krix, despite their immense technological capabilities, could not match the human approach of turning weaknesses into strengths and leveraging humor and creativity as weapons of their own. The decision to form an alliance with humanity is not an easy one for Zexer. He is still reeling from the shock of their defeat and the overwhelming sense of inadequacy that comes with it. However, as he reflects on the situation, he realizes that the humans may indeed have something of value to offer, something that could help the Krix recover from their downfall. The prospect of gaining access to human technology, entertainment networks, pizza delivery infrastructure, and even their seemingly endless supply of novelty t-shirts might seem trivial at first glance. But in the context of a galaxy-changing alliance, it holds far more value than Zexer had initially believed. The Krix need to adapt, and perhaps it is time to embrace the very qualities they once dismissed as weakness. This decision also represents a shift in perspective for Zexer. He begins to understand that there are many ways to achieve power and influence in the galaxy, and brute force is not the only path to success. The Krix had always relied on their technological might to intimidate others, but now they are forced to consider that alliances built on mutual respect, shared resources, and creative collaboration may be just as valuable, if not more so, than the weapons and warships they had once relied upon. Zexer, for the first time, considers the possibility that there is more to leadership than dominating others through fear and strength. Humanity's willingness to embrace creativity, humor, and collaboration is something the Krix can learn from. And perhaps, in this strange new alliance, there is the potential for something greater than either species could have achieved alone. In this moment, Zexer finds himself at a crossroads. He can continue to fight a losing battle, clinging to the crumbling remnants of Krix supremacy, or he can accept the reality of his species' defeat and begin to forge a new path forward, one that involves partnership, creativity, and perhaps the very things he once considered beneath him. His decision, in many ways, mirrors the journey the Krix must take as a species, from an arrogant empire, blinded by their own superiority, to a more humble, adaptable, and ultimately stronger species willing to learn from others. The alliance with humanity represents a chance for the Krix to evolve, not just technologically, but in terms of their approach to power, relationships, and the future of the galaxy. In the end, Zexer reluctantly agrees to the partnership with humanity. Though it is a decision born from necessity rather than desire, he begins to see the potential of working together. He is especially intrigued by the concept of casual Fridays, a human tradition that, while seemingly trivial, may symbolize a deeper shift in how the Krix could approach work, leadership, and even warfare. As the alliance begins to take shape, Zexer reflects on the lessons humanity has taught him. That strength comes not only from power and domination, but from collaboration, adaptability, and the willingness to embrace new ideas, even those that initially seem frivolous or nonsensical. The final decision to form an alliance with humanity marks a turning point for both species. It is a decision that will shape the future of the galaxy, one where strength is not just about weapons, but about the ability to adapt and evolve. Zexer, once the proud High Commander of the Krix, now stands on the precipice of a new chapter, one where the very qualities he once mocked may hold the key to his species' survival and success. The galaxy, as he has come to realize, is full of surprises, and humanity, with its creativity and humor, may just be the most formidable force the Krikks have ever encountered.